Hey guys, welcome back to my studio. This is going to be part, I don't know, 3 or 4, I guess, if you count an unboxing video as a video in this series. This is going to be part 3 or 4 of my little series on the do-it-yourself recording equipment color palette and color modules that I've built. As you can see on the camera there, I do have them now installed in my 500 rack. They're in slots 1 and 2 there of my radial. They are at this point completely disabled. I have all the buttons out on the unit and on the actual insert plugin itself that I use inside of Reaper. The plugin itself is also disabled. I don't know if you're not familiar with Reaper, you can enable and disable the plugins with this little checkbox right here. And as you can see in the mix bus channel there, that when it's enabled, it's silver bright, and when it's disabled, it's kind of brown and dull. So if you keep an eye on that, you can tell immediately whether or not I have the plugin enabled or disabled. I have the inputs and the outputs going out at 0 out of sends 3 and 4 of my Claret 8 pre. So we've basically, I have the usual, the usual song with which everybody's familiar up on the screen. So, with basically what we're going to do with this video is we're just going to do some basic testing and evaluation of the unit. Make sure that all the color modules are working properly and give you just a general idea of what each one is going to do. But as far as like the real in-depth testing and review of these is going to concern, we're going to wait on that until I get a chance to take them out to David's studio, where we can get another set of ears on it and get 2 opinions on them and do a full evaluation of it. Okay. So, well, without further ado and without making this too much of an intro, I'm just going to hit the play on the DAW and start running through the unit and see where we're at. So here we go with the audio. So at this point, it is disabled. I have the gain at Unity. All of the knobs for the color palette and modules themselves are at their lowest point, and all the color modules are disabled as well. So I'm going to enable the plugin without enabling the units yet. All right. And as you can tell right away, even with the unit completely disabled, there is some signal suck there. That looks like it's drawing about 6 dB of signal out of it right from the start. So that's something to keep in mind. It's not really a surprise. Some hardware does signal suck. It does not output quite as much as input. So in order to compensate for that, I'm going to bump up the return on the plugin by 6 dB. That should put us in the neighborhood. All right, so now we're in the neighborhood. So now I'm going to enable the units themselves. All right, so the units are enabled themselves at 0 gain. There's still a little bit of signal suck there, so I'm going to push the output on them up a little bit. All right, so we're better there. That's close to Unity. Okay. So now that I've got the unit set up to gain Unity, I'm going to do a little bit of an idea demonstration. The unit is enabled. And one of the coolest features of this thing to me at this point is that I have the color modules installed in the same order in both of them. And what you'll notice if I enable each one of them, is that the LEDs are color matched to the module that's in the unit. So as you can see on the top, although the lighting is kind of hurting the top one a little bit, the LEDs on the top one are blue, and those correspond to the FET the FET channel modules that I installed. The middle ones are yellow, and that corresponds to the 15 IPS tape modules. And the bottom ones are purple, and that corresponds to the Mojo Maestro clippers, okay? The reason I have them in that order is so that I can feed the channel saturation into the tape saturation and stack them that way so that you can do like a console saturation emulation into a tape emulation. The Mojo Maestro is probably something that's not going to get used in chain with anything else, but that way I can chain the top 2 together, okay? Another thing to note is that if I disable the unit on the bottom switches, they do stay dimly lit up with the colors matching them. Okay. So what we're going to do then is we're just going to, I'm going to disable all 3 units again. All right. So I got all 3 units disabled again. The actual color palettes are enabled again. So let's just do a little bit of testing on the first one. So let's get the audio going again. I'm going to enable the console color one. We're going to hit play. They're on the minimum setting right now. All right, we'll bypass the signal at the plugin. All right, and I'll start cranking up the gain on those 2. All right, that's about halfway up, and that's already pretty well distorted. So we'll back them off. All right, so there's definitely some distortion out of it. But they're definitely giving you some color there. Definitely you can hear it in like the kick drum and the lower end. It's definitely picking up the lower end a little bit. So that's definitely the sound of a pushed console. But we'll disable that one and I'll enable the tape drive. All right, so now the 15 IPS is enabled. And even at their lowest setting, you can already hear that 50 hertz bump a little bit. So let me crank that up some. That's disabled. Again, at 50% roughly, they are definitely providing some saturation, quite a bit of saturation there. We back that off. Okay, at that setting, that's about 10 o'clock. They definitely are doing the job. Yep, you can definitely hear that 50 hertz bump that they have built into them. There's also some top end sheen there. I think I'm going to kick the gain up a little more. All right, so I got the gain on the units maxed out now. Okay, they need to come down a little more. If you drive those units hard, they distort. All right, still distorting on the low end. Oh, that's better. That's definitely useful. Okay. And so then we're going to switch over to the Mojo Maestros. Now remember, the Mojo Maestros are a clipping, they have clipping diodes in it, and I have it set to the Mojo symmetrical, so it's cutting off the tops and the bottoms of the peaks instead of just the tops. If you had it set to asymmetrical, it would only be clipping off the top peaks but leaving the bottom peaks alone. I have it set to symmetrical, so it's clipping the top and bottom. You're going to get more, you know, distortion, more fuzz out of it that way. But I just figured if I'm going to use something like this, I'm going to use it. So let's roll it with those enabled. Again, they're at minimum right now. We're disabled right now. And we're going to send it. So as you can hear, even at their lowest setting, those things are, that's distorting. Okay, so the Mojo Maestro is definitely something that you're going to probably use. You're definitely not going to use on a full mix. You're probably going to use that on individual instruments. So just out of curiosity, while we're at this, let's do this on the bass bus. Okay, we will disable it. We'll disable it on the master bus. We'll leave it enabled on the bass bus. There we go. All right, so as you can see, we're on the bass master. So let's, and we're going to solo up the bass. Okay, that's disabled. Let me turn that up. That's actually really nice. We'll turn those up some. That's good. It leaves a lot of bottom end in it. All right. So as you can see, all three of them are functioning properly. They definitely are saturating. Let's just, as an experiment, we're going to go back to the one on the bus, and we're going to push the console, the FET console, and the tape plugin. All right, so we're on the. I have the console, the FET console enabled. All right. All right, I'm gonna drive that as hard as it'll go. All right, so that definitely does some. That definitely is a distortion. That would be usable on a guitar bus or something if you really want to add some bottom end drive to a guitar. So let's try the tape module. Same thing. All right, so we're enabled. I'm going to drive them all the way to max. All right, so definitely they all function. They all definitely are doing their own thing. The console FET modules are adding a whole lot of darkness to it when they're pushed. The tape module is doing a really nice job of adding some low end and some high end sheen to it. It kind of like almost feels like it might be scooping the mids out a little bit. And then the Mojo Maestro is just a full on clipper. That's a fuzz box in there. So they definitely work. I'm actually quite pleased to see that they all function. I mean, that was, that's always the nerve-wracking part of building something like that, is you don't know if they work until they're actually plugged in and working. So that's a good thing. As far as like applications are concerned, we're going to have to take that as it goes. Right now, this is just basically to show that they do function. So they obviously do function. There is, as I said too, there is some signal suck in the modules. Okay, I can work with that. Max out the gain on the modules and put 6 dB back in on the return side. And they're working fine that way. So, that's fine. I can work with that. So, anyway, they do function. So we'll just disable all of that. They do function. So like I said, that comes as a relief. We will we'll be pulling these out of the rack at some point in time. Next time I go to David's studio, we're going to take them with me to the studio and do like a real proper in-depth evaluation through the console and stuff and see how they sound. We may even do some compare and contrast with different plugins for the tape modules. We may even do some comparing and contrasting of like the FET drive module with the console itself to see how it compares to a console drive, and definitely get a better idea of how it functions and how usable these things are. But as I can see right now, I'm already thinking about 5 or 6 good ways that I can use this inside of a mix and also on the master bus. So obviously, to me, I think that this is going to be a pretty usable thing to have in the rack, and I'm kind of looking forward to doing some mixing through it. So anyway, that was just a quick one, just to show, like I said, test and demo, just to show that they all do function and how they do function. So we do appreciate you guys watching, as always. Appreciate it. And like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, drop down below and we'll get back to you on all of it. Appreciate you. Take care of yourselves. Take care. Bye.